Hello, everyone, collective. I hope you're having a fantastic day or evening wherever you are on this amazing planet. And I'm continuing with the Norse mythology tarot to begin with. I hope you're enjoying this series. The Norse mythology is quite a complex system, and so any explanation I give here is going to be simplified. But I do really love all that, the sagas and the myths and that kind of thing. So I'm really enjoying doing this. So today I've already pre-shuffled your cards and cleansed the space and called in the ancestors and the guardians and the ancestral gods and heroes to guide us and protect us. So today on the bottom of the deck we have Tyr. So Tyr, in comparative mythology, you would say, is associated or similar to your Mars type of energy, which is very poignant, is that the right word? Because we do have the solar transit through the sign of Aries at the moment, and Aries is ruled by Mars. So nice, he's the shadow of the deck today, and he's one of the main cards in this deck. And he is known in this deck as the Judge. It's interesting that there is the comparative mythology saying that Tyr has association with Mars. However, any culture, mythology, ethnicity have their own systems and complexities within them. So even though he has, elements of Mars, you could also say he does have elements of, say, Jupiter in there as well, because he is linked in also here with justice. So he's known as the Judge. Tyr is the god of law, courage, and sacrifice, to keep a pact and protect the gods. He offered his right hand to the wolf Fenrir. Tyr represents impartial justice, truth that requires courage, and moral responsibility even when it is painful, symbolizing truth, fairness, responsibility. Tyr encourages you to do what is right, even if it costs. Act with integrity. Honor is more valuable than victory. So yeah, really potent card here. So the reading today begins with Gram. So Gram is interesting. I think that we also have Sigurd as well. So Gram is of the orange or fire suit in this deck. And the fire suit is about courage, action, creative destruction, and personal power. So the sword of hero Sigurd, with which he killed the dragon Fafnir, symbolizing affirmation, heroic growth, determination. Gram is the symbol of courage that brings results. So yeah, amazing. So that's the first card today. Courage that brings results. It's just interesting because I think Tyr being at the bottom of the deck talking about courage, and then I know we have Sigurd coming up as well. He's not in the main three today. He's actually was in that position yesterday as well. So if you saw that reading. But the next card we have is Heimdall. Heimdall is our crowning card today. In this deck, he's known as the Beholder. Heimdall is the guardian of Bifrost, the bridge between the worlds. He sees and hears everything, even that which is hidden, and is destined to sound the horn that announces Ragnarok. Interesting that the card beneath we got here is Ragnarok. Heimdall represents vigilance, transmitted knowledge, ritual, and the correction between the visible and the invisible, symbolizing spiritual guidance, knowledge, order. Heimdall invites you to listen to the voice of wisdom, to trust what is tested, sacred, or handed down. So, very interesting that we're talking about honor and courage. And then Heimdall here is also saying to test these sacred handed down things as well. So yeah, that's a potent message. Okay, the next one we have here is Sigurd as well. So Sigurd is known in this deck as the Brave. Sigurd is the hero who killed the dragon Fafnir, gaining not only a treasure, but also the secret wisdom. His courage is made of audacity, but also of discipline and will. Sigurd represents inner strength, not brutality, but the control over impulses and the resilience of those who face their own shadow, symbolizing courage, mastery, will. Sigurd invites you to trust your strength, to overcome fear with firmness, and to remain steadfast in the face of the unknown. So yeah, the Sigurd mythology that I think with the true sky that really matches up is this Aries Cetus thing that we have going on. So it's interesting that he's come up again. However, just a little astro musings here. The full moon is today, and in the true sky, it actually is in Virgo. It's near the end of Virgo. So a lot of Vedic astrologers are saying Libra, because in their system it is. And even sidereal astrologers think it's Libra, but in the true sky, it's actually, Virgo is a massive constellation. So it's actually right at the end, well, not right at the end, but it's right near the end of Virgo, which is interesting, I think, because we pulled him yesterday and it was still in Virgo yesterday and it is going into Libra. So, you know, while that moon is full, like its most powerful point, it's going to be in Libra too. Like his most powerful point will be in Virgo, but then, you know, it's still going to be really full when it's in Libra. So there really is that blending of energies at the moment. So we have the rulers Mercury and we have the rulers Venus, which yesterday was coming up a lot in the reading. I was really feeling that the Venus, and then with the Venus in Taurus, and then the Mercury, with Mercury being in Pisces, which is nearing the end of Aries. So it's in that Gandanta point the Vedics talk about. So yeah, I just think that's really interesting that we had Sigurd again in the same area. And I had thought later after the reading about that, about how not only did Sigurd gain treasure from slaying this Fafnir, well, it could be, you could say Aries and Cetus, Aries slaying the beast Cetus, even though it's more Perseus in the story. That was a little bit out of the topic, but anyway, but that he gains treasure, which you could say would be linking to the Venus energies. Yesterday we had the Brisingamen at the top, which was very much linked in with the Venus energies, with being Freya's magical necklace. And then also not only did he find treasure, but he found secret wisdom. And so wisdom is very much tied in with, you know, Mercury and Odin and, you know, the runes and all that. So it's interesting that this moon has this energy. It has the Aries. There's also a lot of Pisces still, a lot of planets in Pisces. So there's a lot of that Pisces energy too. And then the next card we have today is the Viking. So the Viking is in the suit of half, which is the water, and the water suit is around emotional bonds, internal cycles, memory and emotional transformation. So he's the Hersia of Half, warrior of the sea, tireless explorer and raider. He lives driven by the wind and the waves, The Viking is movement, the hunger for discovery, and the emotion of the unknown. It is the restless force that does not tolerate quiet, that seeks new depths, symbolizing journey, desire, emotional research. The Viking invites you to move, to leave the safe harbor, and follow the call of the soul. So it's a very powerful combination here, having the Viking next to Gram, which was all about the heroic, courage that brings results, that kind of thing. And then also, obviously, we have Heimdall as well. And we have Ragnarok, which is our central card today. A really powerful card. So in this tarot, it's symbolized, called the final clash. Ragnarok is the end of the world and the beginning of a new one. All that is corrupt falls, and from its remains a renewed world will be born. No one can escape the call of destiny. Ragnarok represents awakening, inevitable judgment, and the possibility of being reborn through the truth, symbolizing awakening, revelation, rebirth. Ragnarok invites you to answer your true calling. It is time to leave the past and to be reborn with awareness. So this one's all about your true calling, which is interesting. We have Fehu beneath it, which symbolizes like wealth and physical resources. So finding your true calling should be a path towards that. And then Heimdall is calling it in. So what an alignment we have here. And Heimdall was all about spiritual guidance and knowledge. Also trusting what is tested, sacred or handed down. So it's also about listening to the voice of wisdom as well. The next card we have is Yggdrasil. So in this tarot, it's called the World Tree. Yggdrasil is the cosmic tree that unites the 9 worlds, supporting the entire universe with its roots and branches. Yggdrasil represents universal harmony, the completed cycle, the connection between all things, representing completion, integration, unity. Yggdrasil invites you to celebrate your fulfillment and your place in the whole. You have achieved a profound balance. So there's energies of a completion here, and especially in regard to, finding your path and the journey that's taken. We've got Sigurd here, which is the hero, and he's found this treasure and this wisdom, and he's completed that. Yeah, nice energies. Okay, next one we have is Thermia. So he's a really interesting character. He's of the East suit, and it talks about limits and boundaries, but resilience, rebirth and mystery. Ice preserves and prepares. Nothing moves, yet everything can change. So here's the giant who stole Mjolnir, representing deception and the desire for power, symbolizing audacity, ambition, defiance of order. Thermia invites you to dare, but with a conscience. So you're still aware that you are daring that established order, which is what an alignment we have here with Ragnarok, Sigurd, and Thermia. Next card we have is Fehu. So it's one of the runes, and it's actually the first rune. Symbol of material wealth and tangible success, symbolizing prosperity, abundance, fertile beginning. Fehu indicates opportunities for growth and material well-being. The last card we have here today is Asgard. So Asgard, the home of the gods, a place of order and divine power, symbolizing security, authority, social balance. representing the structure that supports and protects. So there's a really I love this reading. It's beautiful actually. There's a lot of heroic elements, and then there's a lot of like completion and protection and, you know, increase with the material resources here. So the Pagan Otherworlds deck, on the bottom of the deck we have the Seven of Pentacles. So the Seven of Pentacles symbolizes looking at the hard work you've done because you've reached a certain threshold with your resources and deciding what to do onwards. So there is still, you know, more work to be done, and so this is a time of reflection on the past materially and where you're heading and what you can do with your resources going ahead. Okay, so the first card, Graham, which was all about this heroic sword and this courage, we have the Three of Swords. So this is traditionally a card of heartbreak, and maybe this situation where you have tried to be courageous, and you may have even gotten some results. There's also been some heartbreak here, some kind of suffering involved in this struggle that you've been going through. To clarify Heimdall, this is the card to clarify. Yeah, there we go. It wasn't focusing. This is the card to clarify Heimdall. And so Heimdall was all about spiritual guidance. Sorry about that. Looking at what's been handed down and testing that. And this card is symbolizing an abundance of energy in this area. So I think that this is to do with this full moon energy at this time, because Virgo is a very kind of nitpicky kind of sign. You know, associated in the Chinese zodiac with the rooster. And chickens do have hierarchies, they really do. I've had chickens in the past, and yeah, wow. Anyway, so to clarify Sigurd, here we have the Seven of Cups. So the Seven of Cups is often about, it can be to do with like fantasies and potential deception and illusions. So it's often a time where there's lots of emotional opportunities in your world, and you need to choose one of them. However, it's actually quite hard to know what each one will lead to, and sometimes the ones that look the best can actually not be the best. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that exactly the best. However, so linking this with Sigurd, so Sigurd's all about slaying the dragon, and he gets the treasure, and he gets the wisdom. And this one is saying, you know, it's great to dream of such things, which obviously in mythology it is, you know, it's very symbolic, and you know, that's a great thing to be a hero and slay dragons. However, there are consequences from such things, and sometimes something might seem a certain way and it's not that way at all. It's really hard to explain that, but yeah, there's a bit of mystery involved there. Okay, so to clarify the Viking, we have the Lovers. And so the Lovers traditionally does imply a choice of paths, a choice of direction, and often it's a choice of two, can be people. And so this Viking here was all about journeying. So maybe it's also a choice of location, like maybe you want to go to different places and you have to decide, you know, which one. So to clarify the Ragnarok, my goodness, wow, we have justice. So Justice is a really good card here, especially considering it's Ragnarok, which already Ragnarok has that energy of it being like a kind of a divinely ordained battle, and that the right will win, and that you know, a new world will be reborn. So from this conflict and this battle that's going on, and I'm not trying to drag any politics into this, because I don't feel strongly about what's going on in the world right now. I don't agree with it, and yeah, anyway, it's not up to me. But so the Justice is about yeah, things being just. So wrongs that are being done now or that have been done need to be brought to account. Like, justice is very much about that. That's why we have a justice system, and it's so important. It's basically one of the you know, foundations of like a civilized society, is that we have, you know, a justice system. Okay, to clarify our Yggdrasil, we have the Tower. So even though there's a completion energy here with the Yggdrasil, the tree, the wild tree, we also have a destructive situation going on as well. There is a really chaotic, it can be creative, but a very chaotic energy at the moment. So there's a completion, but there's a chaos. So it's like kind of there's a completion of a cycle, and there's a new cycle opening, but that new cycle is a really chaotic place, which is definitely what I'm seeing in the world at the moment anyway. Thermia, for him to clarify, we have the Hanged Man. So the Hanged Man is all about, you know, the inner journey, and very introspective and also intuitive. So it's about spending time alone and looking for answers from within. It can represent a bit of a sacrifice as well here, of some kind, to gain higher wisdom. For the Feihu, we have the Empress. That's a really nice combination. So we've got like material abundance, and then we have this like divine feminine figure here who has all the power of all the queens in the deck. She often can symbolize fertility or a pregnancy. So if that's something that could happen for you, be aware. And then for Asgard, we have the Eight of Cups. So the Eight of Cups is about a letting go. So there may be some protection here. This is the protected abode of the gods, and you know, it's a blessed place. However, there is some letting go. So some of this protection is leaving, and it's definitely interesting for what's going on in the world right now. My goodness. Especially with this chaos with the Yggdrasil. I hope I'm not being too much of a doom pilling or anything. The next cards I've got to pull from here, because it's not all, obviously it's not all bad. You know, I'm here, you're here, and there is this, you know, battle going on. So underneath the deck, we have, this is the Kipper, we have false person. So be aware of these energies, because these energies are the shadow of the deck. And this came up yesterday as well. So the first card we have today is Thief. So this is for the Heimdall and the Eight of Wands. So this is the Eight of Wands is a really quick incoming energy, and the Thief, my goodness. So Heimdall's you know, this spiritual guidance and wisdom, and but also kind of questioning things that have been passed down for their validity and stuff. And then there's this incoming energy of this Thief. Gosh, that's a horrible energy. I think I'm going to use my my little broom to get some of that energy away. So the next one we have for the center here is imprisonment. Oh my goodness. So we've got the Ragnarok, and then we've got the Justice, but justice sometimes means this. which isn't always just. I mean, if I'm not sure how aware of things you are, but you know, there's a lot of false imprisonment that goes on. There is. And then there's people that, you know, now I'm getting a little bit political, aren't I, talking about my opinion. Then there's people that don't get much at all, and really they should not be out free walking around hurting people. Then we have here marriage. Oh my goodness, that's beautiful. We've got the money, the abundance, we've got the fertility, the ruling queen, and we've got marriage. So that's a really nice way to end it. Wow. Those other energies are a bit intense. I think the best thing you can hope for is that the true people get imprisoned. However, it could be an imprisonment on another level too, in that sense that even if on the physical world they get the justice that is given to them, whether I can judge it being false or not, they have to live with what they've done. They have to live the rest of their lives knowing, like on their conscience, what is true and what isn't. And yeah, you could say that spiritually they might justify it on certain levels, but you know, imprisonment is a mental thing too. So on the bottom, this is the Lenormand. On the bottom of the deck, we have the magnifying glass. So this is all about the details, looking at the details. This is a shadow of the deck for today, however. Okay, so the first card we have here, nice. We have the scythe, and so this is about cutting away, and it's actually quite protective because it's about cutting away the bad and keeping the good. So here we have Heimdallr, questioning things and spiritual guidance, and then we have this incoming energy, and then we have this thief. However, the scythe is cutting away the negative. So I'm just going to really take on these energies more so. I think this scythe is cutting away the thief, the bad thief energy. And hopefully exposing it and letting it, you know, become one again with the putrefaction. Is that what it is? Okay, so wow, the central card we have is the ring. Oh my goodness. So the Ragnarok, the justice, the imprisonment, and the ring. So this to me is kind of saying that it could be a relationship even that has been a real battle and you're wanting justice. You've been feeling really imprisoned. I mean, the ring to me it symbolizes a relationship, but especially marriage. So that's got quite a different slant on it now. Okay, Fehu, which is abundant material resources, and the Empress, fertility, and the divine feminine, marriage. And then we have the clouds, but it's reversed. So the clouds traditionally represents worries and, you know, those like dark thoughts, and it can be linked to like depression and things like that. However, because it is reversed, I'm taking it as though those clouds are clearing away. You know, we've got the sun here. It's not that they're coming over. I'm taking it as that they've actually passed and they're leaving. So these dark thoughts are leaving. And this is about a marriage and material resources. Okay, the next cards I'm going to pull from are the runes, the Norwegian runes. And on the bottom of the deck we have Fehu, which we actually had already today, so that's really significant. And the first card we have is Hagalaz. So this is a rune that's quite powerful, symbolizing endings and beginnings, transformation, radical change, disruption, and completion. So it's linked to like the hail. So with these cards, wow, that's a really intense combination. But yeah, there's some completion going on here. There's, yeah, spiritual wisdom gained. So the middle one we have is Yira. And so Yira is about fertility and the harvest, can represent a year. So maybe this situation with this ring and the imprisonment and all this, maybe this situation could resolve in a year's time. And then the last one today is Hours. And Hours is linked with magic, liberation, rebirth, awakening, and protection. So that's a nice energy to have with the clouds leaving, you know, the fears and worries disappearing, and then we have this protective energy coming in here. Rebirth, awakening. All right, so the last cards I'm going to pull from today are the Wilder Ones Oracle. On the bottom of the deck we have good things to come. I give thanks for all that I have and all that awaits. First card we have is be kind to yourself and everyone you meet today. The people I meet are a reflection of my shining soul. So that's always good to remember. That's really good spiritual wisdom. Balance your worlds. Big projects ahead. Time is on my side. I have all the space I need. So that's interesting too, especially considering we had the imprisonment card. It just made me think, because the fact that she says, it says, I have all the space I need, and the imprisonment is, I mean, you're in prison, so you don't really have all the space that you need. However, we were talking about the mental imprisonment. And, you know, a lot of imprisonment and a lot of bad conditions are linked to the mental state. So, yeah. The next card, last card we have for today is an honest and unique offering is appreciated. I adore my differences. They make me one of a kind. That's lovely advice too. Yeah. I mean, at my age, I must say that I do try to think for myself, and I try to honor my own lived experience. You know, people can use all the language they want to kind of categorize people and things, but at the end of the day, I do think we are a lot more than words and concepts that people can explain. I actually think that life is much more, I mean, I love words, don't get me wrong. I love reading, I love words, I love imagining, I love all that. However, I sometimes feel that that is very limiting as well. Even with the card of imprisonment there, you know, it does kind of take your time and your focus and everything. So that's why it's so important what we do speak about and what we do think and all that. So I hope you're having a fantastic day or evening and you got something great out of this reading, and you have an amazing full moon in True Sky Virgo, which is shifting into Libra during this current transit of the sun in Aries. And I'll be back again soon with another reading. If you could like, comment, and or subscribe to my channel, that would be amazing. If you already have, thank you so much. Okay, take care. Bye.